All right, we are live. Welcome to the live stream. If you are watching on the replay, welcome. If you're here live, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the age-old question: is online arbitrage saturated? Is selling on Amazon going to be over sooner rather than later? Straight thoughts immediately on that question is I do hear that question over and over and over again. I've been selling on Amazon for nearly 3 years now, and people then were saying that it's completely saturated. But then you do see the upsurge in amount of sellers selling and the amount of free content online talking about how to sell on Amazon. So sometimes it really does feel like, yeah, saturated. Amazon is just completely saturated and completely done. And like my shot is over. The good old days were a year ago when I was able to do this sourcing strategy, whatever it is. And that now like Amazon is just too competitive and there's no space in the market for me. So I kind of wrote out some notes. So I want to be looking at those notes because there are a couple key points that I really want to get into. Probably the last point is what I actually feel is the biggest threat to online arbitrage as a whole. And it might not be what you think. But first, we're going to talk about the whole aspect of Amazon being saturated, margins getting smaller and smaller. You know, like there's a really good story that goes into this, but first, we're going to talk a little bit about like Amazon actually being saturated. So like more and more sellers are selling, and the thought is like if more and more sellers are selling, you know, like is there actually going to be space for me in the market? Because like, you know, people learn about selling on Amazon, they do it on top of their job, and then they start to get better and better, and then they start spending more money, and suddenly there's no more good leads. People felt this way, especially with Nike. And that's the first thing that I want to talk about here. Back in like 2019, 2020, maybe even 2021, Nike and selling apparel and shoes on Amazon, and even like socks and other things like that, was just a really big opportunity. I mean, Nike, we all know it's a huge brand. A ton of people like there's just so much demand for Nike, and you know, therefore there's a ton of opportunity for sellers. And it was like readily available on Nike.com and a bunch of other sites. So there's a lot of opportunity with that. But then, you know, like so many people started promoting selling Nike that eventually it felt like it got super saturated. And there's a whole group of people right now, especially started maybe like a year ago, that they feel like Amazon's saturated because selling apparel and selling Nike on Amazon is harder than it was a year ago. But the way that I see that is, you know, Nike as a brand for sellers has received so much attention. Like every other YouTube video for a while was about how to source Nike. And like that was the way that people learned how to source online arbitrage in general. And it took all that attention to like quote unquote bomb one brand on Amazon. Like it took every YouTuber and their mom making videos about how to sell Nike and how to source sales and how to do discount codes and coupons, and discount gift cards and all of this different stuff about Nike in order to make that a worse opportunity. So that just gives me hope. Like there's so much more than just apparel. There's beauty, there's grocery, there's electronics, there's office supplies, there's tools, there's toys, there's DVDs. And I've never seen a video on YouTube about how to profitably source DVDs, non-eBay to Amazon, to do regular online arbitrage, or like how to source tools online arbitrage. I never see that. You never see that. You never see, every once in a while, you'll see one about beauty. Every once in a while, you might see one about grocery. but you never see like, how do I source high-end office products, regular online arbitrage? I mean, I've really never seen anything like that. So Nike's just one brand, and Amazon is not saturated. There's so much more than just apparel. We got Christiana in the chat. Let's go. We got RW. Good afternoon. Tripod. Yes, we have the wide angle lens today. We're rocking that. We got FBA Sage in the house. The GOAT. Good to see you, FBA Sage. Yeah. So that was the first point. Yeah, and then another point is just like almost any opportunity is just going to get harder over time. But it's like, let's say there's two scales here. We have one scale, like how much harder something is becoming. And then on the other side, we have how much better as an Amazon seller you're getting. And so maybe it's getting like harder and harder and harder, and it's getting harder and harder. But at the same time, you're just getting better and better and better, and you're just getting better faster than it is getting harder. So if you're actually immersed in this and, like getting better and better, you should be able to adapt faster than it's getting more difficult. So that's kind of my take on that part of it. I do want to talk about, and then with the whole Nike thing, like it's probably not even as destroyed as like I'm making it out to be. Like so many people say, oh yeah, you can't sell Nike anymore. Like it's just return rates too high. Everyone's talking about it. And that's kind of true. But even for this one example, it's literally the example that so many people make content about, that so many people sell. Everybody talks about it. But yet the people who are best at that are still making money. Like they're definitely still making money. But the people who aren't best at it, they're going to have to adapt faster. Or if they don't adapt, they just say, oh, it's time to get into real estate. Like a lot of people say when they think Amazon is saturated and they're just done with it. So that's another whole point of this that I was getting at earlier. Like, if you are worried about Amazon getting saturated, maybe try doing something that there's not YouTube guides on, or try doing something that everyone and their mom is making YouTube videos on. Like I was saying before, like I don't see online arbitrage guides for how to do DVDs online arbitrage, or how to do health and household online arbitrage. Like even RW saying DeWalt and Rigid are very good for eBay to Amazon set. And that's 100% true. I've definitely made money with both of those brands. Probably DeWalt more so, but tools. I mean, here's another thing. Like I do mostly eBay to Amazon, and there's less guides about how to do eBay to Amazon than there are regular online arbitrage. There is more and more being made about that, but that kind of leads me to my second point. Like there's all this content around how to sell on Amazon, and how to do retail arbitrage, how to do online arbitrage, how to find profitable stuff. And finding profitable stuff is a pretty big barrier. But once you learn it, you kind of feel like, oh, it's just going to like, once everyone else learns how to do this, it's just going to get overrun, and they're just going to spend all this money on inventory, and it's going to be way too saturated. But the fact is like, maybe you can teach yourself how to buy a product for $60 and sell it for $110 and make $35 profit. But can you do that at scale enough to actually make a dent in the market and actually be able to run your business in an effective way when things go wrong? Like me, for example, recently, I was looking at my numbers, and I went into Inventory Lab, and I saw that not most of them, but every once in a while, maybe like every 30 products was showing a zero buy cost, which they definitely weren't a zero buy cost. They were like, just for some reason, there was some glitch in the system, or I did something wrong or something, and my products were showing zero buy cost. So I had to go through all of my sales and make sure that they were actually book kept correctly. And you know, it was pretty discouraging seeing like I thought I made a certain amount of profit in a month and I ended up making less than I thought I did. Still extremely happy with it. But imagine you're a beginner and you thought you made your first $2,500 profit and you go and do that and you see it's 1,100 and then you have to pay for your softwares. You know how discouraging that is? Like that's just one little thing that could go wrong in your business. Like you have to actually run a business. You have to keep a big picture perspective going on because Amazon, like you'll get counterfeit claims, you'll get IP claims, you'll have inventory lost. Like I have inventory lost all the time. You'll have eBay sellers send you stuff that's not even the right item. You'll have to deal with returns. It's not just like, oh, just like buy this item for $60 and sell it for 35 profit and like everything goes right. Like you have to deal with all this stuff, big picture, have all these things go wrong. And then like things will go right and then you get hit with massive returns. And then you have to deal with the products as well to get them resent back in. Like it's not as easy as people make it out to be. So just saying like, oh yeah, people are just gonna like watch a YouTube video and suddenly be good business people. That's just not how it works. Like I can't tell you how to run an Amazon business completely correctly. Like I can give you tips to like help yourself grow, but like if you're not the right type of person who hasn't like had the practice and the experience, like you just have to build that over time. So yeah, we got FBA Sage saying office products are so good, man. Yeah, dude, I totally agree. I love office products, tools. I've had some bangers in health and household recently. I've absolutely loved those. DVDs are a great category, like super consistent to just continually find deal after deal after deal. You can even do this with books too. Yeah. So if you can do anything to just like find stuff that everyone isn't talking about, it's awesome. Like nobody's talking about print on demand. There's also that, there's print on demand. There's also that influencers program where you basically make videos to promote Amazon listings and you get a cut commission for every purchase where someone watches your video. I mean, you could learn print on demand. You could learn that business model I was just talking about. You can do regular online arbitrage. You can do retail arbitrage. You can do wholesale. You could thrift. You can do eBay to Amazon. There's a lot of different ways to do this. And yeah, as one is a better opportunity than others, it might get more saturated, but you just have to get better. Health and household, haven't tried that much. Yeah, there's some weird ones. There's also some like sporting goods too. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much stuff. Yeah, and then another point I wanted to make too is Amazon as a market, like most people, like let's just think about this for 1 second. So just get your thinking caps on and envision your neighborhood, your town, your state, and think about like how many Amazon sellers do I know in person? Like in my neighborhood, how many Amazon sellers are there in my neighborhood? For me, there actually happens to be one, but that's kind of a weird coincidence. But I mean, he's not like he hardly sells at all, but he has sold on Amazon. For most people, I think that would be a no. I mean, I think most people don't know a single Amazon seller in their city, or they might know one or two in their state, if that at all. I know for me, there's an Amazon seller I know. I think his name's FBA Burke. He lives in Colorado Springs, around an hour from me. Eli Happy Life is in Fort Collins. He's about an hour and a half from me. There's another guy that lives like, oh, there's Dave Can Read. He lives about 40 minutes from me. But like, it's like super interspersed. Like to drive to another Amazon seller, I have to drive like 40 minutes. So now get your thinking cap on again. And how many people do you think shop on Amazon, like in your neighborhood? Like I know I see Amazon packages all over the place. Friends talk about buying stuff on Amazon. Like that's the go-to market. Everyone's buying stuff there. Like probably a majority of people buy on Amazon. So like to say, oh, Amazon's saturated, there's too many sellers. It's like, bro, there's like probably like 100 sellers in the city, the entire city of 2 million people. So from that perspective, Amazon's super not saturated. There's actually so much opportunity. Like literally, there's so many products on Amazon that are just completely out of stock, and there was demand for it. And so if you're able to find that product at almost any price, people are going to be willing to pay way over market for the product. Like there's tons of products that are just out of stock, name brand items. Like it's just crazy. And in some cases, yeah, there's going to be the opportunities that are just so good that of course it's going to get oversaturated, and it's just too easy to get, too many people know about it, and not enough demand. You obviously have to look for stuff that has a lot of demand and not a ton of supply. Yeah. And yeah, RW says 0 for me. Like hardly any Amazon sellers in the area at all. But yet probably most of your neighborhood uses it. And I mean, RW knows this. Like he destroyed the coffee maker industry so hard that his competitor bought him out, which is very funny. And FBA Sage says most have Prime subscriptions as well. Yeah. So they like Amazon's like a great convenience thing, because it's like I remember around right after Christmas, I went to go get myself a new pair of running shoes at Dick's. I wanted to return a pair of shoes and then exchange that for store credit so I could buy another pair. I spent like 40 minutes looking for a shoe that was actually my size that I liked in the right colorway, because they kept being out of stock on stuff that I thought they had in stock. And then when I went to go buy the shoe, I had to wait in line for like 20 minutes because they were helping other people. And I had to drive there 15 minutes each way. So like door to door, it was like an hour and a half, 2-hour adventure that like honestly that day I didn't really feel like going on an hour and a half adventure to Dick's Sporting Goods. But Amazon, I could have been in and out in 15 minutes, and at worst the shoe wouldn't have fit and I would have returned it. I would have spent another 10 minutes taking it to UPS. So that's like a huge time save to millions of people. So people are going to be willing to pay extra money just to not have to leave their house. We got our W in the chat. 9 out of 10 in my neighborhood. Yeah, Amazon always going up and down the street. You see their blue vans. It feels like they bought those vans before the price of those types of vans went up. So they probably made a bag on those. Like I live in Denver, Colorado, and those vans are in so much demand. Everyone wants to build one of those out to have a camper van to travel, which is like, I'm curious if they just flip those vans. We got Sage in the chat. I like to look for products that have 30 to 40 sales per month. Honestly, that's been my bread and butter lately. Yeah. Here's another thing too. I won't even talk about it too long, but like also a ton of people, especially in like the beginner Amazon space, they feel like they have to source stuff that's just like absolutely ripping, like absolutely super low sales rank, like under 50K. And I mean, with variations, that makes sense. But like people feel like, oh, it has to have like 500 sales a month in order for me to even purchase this. But they don't realize that what matters more is the ratio between how many sellers are on the listing versus how many sales it's getting per month. So I could source something that has let's call it 500 sales a month. But if it has 100 sellers, what would that be? That's 5 sales a month per person, assuming they're all competitive, which they're not. But we'll call it 5 sales a month in that case. But like, let's say we got FBA Sage here, who he sourced something that gets 40 sales a month, but it's him and like 2 other sellers. What's the math on that? It might not even be that much better, but that's more like 10 to 15 sales a month. And that's like so many people when they like set tactical arbitrage searches or flip mine searches. I have a link for that down in the description if you don't have that already. It's a good eBay to Amazon software. They set it for like under 50K and they're like, Seth, why can't I find any products? I'm like, bro, most of my products are over 100K rank. Like maybe not most of them, but I have a ton of stuff that's just over 100K rank. But there's like 4 people on the listing and like 3 of them are FBM. So it's like me and one other FBA seller, and we get those 30 sales a month between us. So things just go really well because of that. But I did say I'm going to talk about the thing that I think is actually the biggest threat to online arbitrage in general. And I don't think the biggest threat is saturation, there being too small of margins. I think as you get better and better, we're going to be able to deal with that quite well. Just have other sellers to talk to who are inspiring and like help you grow to get better at sourcing, because like you don't just have to source one category, you can expand, you can grow. But I think the biggest threat is account health stuff. It does feel like Amazon officially in their terms of service, you're supposed to have an invoice for all the products that you're selling. It seems like they would prefer you have a letter from a brand, every single brand that you're selling. And I think that's the most surefire way to have no account health issues. But even these days with regular online arbitrage, I've heard of people who they literally have an online arbitrage product that they purchase from like Kohl's or something. People have used Kohl's for ungating. It's that official in Amazon's book. But they aren't getting IP claims removed with Kohl's receipts. And so the solution to that, like literally another situation that I'm going to talk about first is I literally talked to a wholesaler around 6 months ago, and was it 6 months? I think it was around 6 months. They got an IP claim on a wholesale product that they listed, and they submitted that invoice because they got a wholesale, and it wasn't getting removed. Like it didn't get removed for around 6 weeks. So like people have legitimate receipts and invoices, even wholesale receipts sometimes. And, like claims are often staying on accounts for a while. The solution to this is oftentimes you just have to keep resubmitting the exact same thing over and over again. Like this wholesaler, they resubmitted the invoice, didn't change it at all. They just kept submitting it every single day for like 6 weeks. And they finally got it removed. And they were back up and running. And then like online arbitrage, you can often do the same thing. And even with eBay to Amazon, sometimes you can appeal it or just acknowledge it and it drops off your account. So like it's a threat that it seems like Amazon more and more so wants like official invoices for all of your products, and officially you're supposed to have that. But at the same time, in the last couple of years, as a whole, for most things, they have been more lenient. So like, it's not a landscape of I get one IP complaint and you just immediately get shut down anymore. Unless you're a newer Amazon account, sometimes it does get a bit more serious if you have no sales under your belt, which sucks, but that's just kind of the way it is. So definitely be more careful at the very start of your selling journey. Like maybe even sell something like books where there's very few issues for a while, especially non-textbooks. But like I was saying, like it's usually not a one claim and you're just suspended immediately type of thing. It's usually you can stack a few before like anything substantial happens, as long as you're trying to get them removed. So I would say if Amazon ever decides to be really strict and stringent on this, I think that would be the biggest threat to online arbitrage in general, pushing everyone towards wholesale. But like that, even in and of itself, is just so far off and doesn't feel like the current landscape of Amazon. Now, the counterpoint to that is the thing in probably a lot of people's heads, if you've been on social media, is like we heard about Romer getting suspended, which really sucks for him. And like that was, I feel like that was probably a big scare to a lot of people. I do think that one, unfortunately, I think that was less caused by the counterfeit claims that he was getting and more caused by the multiple account thing that was going on there, which like makes total sense. Like restock limits happened. He was running restricted inventory, and like if you don't have slots to sell your clients' books, like what are you supposed to do? So I think he ended up making multiple accounts to have slots to sell the books. And I think that was a big part of the issue because you're supposed to only have one account for per type of item that you're selling. So that was just unfortunate that they ended up like actually like holding to what the rules are, because with Amazon it's hard because technically you're supposed to have like an invoice and receipt and authorization from a brand in every single situation of items that you're selling. But we all know that we don't have letters from brands that we're selling. Like I probably sell like 50 plus brands. I don't have relationships with 50 plus brands. So it's just hard to like know, okay, Amazon in actuality doesn't really care about that rule. And so you think like, oh, about the multiple accounts, it'll just be fine. But I guess in this case, Amazon actually cares about that. And they just, yeah, they weren't into that. So hopefully he gets his account back. I think that one it's just, hopefully he gets his account back. I don't think that's an indication that like Amazon is just shutting accounts down and that online arbitrage is dead and selling on Amazon is unsafe. It just seems like Amazon cares more about the multiple account thing than they do about the invoices and receipts thing. So hopefully he gets his account back. But I do think Amazon still is a relatively safe place. But still don't invest money that you're not willing to lose into it. But I've been ignoring chat for a second. So we got Joseph in the chat. What's up, guys? We got FBA Sage. How IP complaints or claims, how many IP claims or complaints do you get until your account gets shut down or terminated? Does it kind of just depend on the situation? I think it does. Sorry, an alarm was going off. But yeah, I think it just depends on the situation. Like you could be a new account and one or two does it. But I've also heard of like massive accounts who do a lot of volume having like 20, 30 at any given point. And they're not even in the yellow. So it does have to do with volume. It does have to do with, do you have other issues going on? It does have to do with the brand in particular, because I think some brands threaten legal action on Amazon more so than others. So basically, you don't want to like step on certain brands' toes. Like Amazon, they really want you to sell. They want you to make money. They want their customers to be happy. Just if certain brands are like, policing certain ASINs, like you need to just stay off of those ASINs because it's just playing with fire. And those are the ones that are going to be the most dangerous. And also, if you're having terrible customer service and your customers aren't happy, that's a bad thing too, because they could just write counterfeit in one of their claims, in one of their returns, and you get a counterfeit claim. So anything you can do to lower return rate and keep your customers happy so that happens even less is great. We got KB Flips, King Checkmate, eBay to Amazon pumping. Yes, sir. We got Kevin in the chat. Pretty much the guy who sells shoes, retail arbitrage, like actually makes videos about how to actually find them. Super cool content. Always has like the awesome like $89 profit shoe, which is just, I love the high ASP. Yeah. Honestly, like Romer's going to be fine. He's like winners win. I think he's going to be fine. He's got go-to lister. Kind of crazy about Romer. I'm sure Amazon was making millions off of fees from his sales. Yeah. Like I heard this said by someone, but like something like Amazon, like they have to, how do they say it? Like something pretty drastic has to happen in order to have Amazon walk away from that kind of money, because they just want to keep making money off of our fees and our customers. So I really hope he gets his account back. I think something good will probably happen eventually with that. Yeah, and RW says play by the rules and you won't have issues. But unfortunately, like if you do eBay to Amazon, it's not like technically like that's not by the rules. You're supposed to have, you're supposed to have a letter from the brand and them saying, yes, King Checkmate, please sell DeWalt. Good sir. I would love for you to sell DeWalt, and I'm giving you perfect permission. And here's a letter in case Amazon ever has any issues with you. But like nobody ever does that. So like there's certain rules that like people just don't follow. And like you want to just make sure you're making this a win-win for Amazon. Yes, sir. I'm EAD. We in a gray space with eBay to Amazon. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a gray space for sure. Yeah. I guess you could always reach out to brands and be like, hello, I buy your stuff from eBay. Would you give me authorization to sell your products? Yeah, so hopefully, I hope Romer gets his account back. I hope we all stay safe with our accounts. I do think that's the biggest issue when it comes to online arbitrage is account health issue, but that is a big if still. It's basically if Amazon decides to be really strict with the whole you need to have a super official invoice thing. And like, honestly, there's not a reason for them to do so. There's so many products that wouldn't be on Amazon if people had like this perfect invoice. There's so many liquidation companies. There's so many closeout companies. There's so many. There's eBay to Amazon. There's the whole thrifting community. There's clearance, RA. There's RA. Like sometimes RA receipts don't even get accepted. And you just have to keep resubmitting them, and definitely keep resubmitting them. But yeah. Oh yeah. And then there's actually a seller forum I wanted to react to, but today's not the day for it. Was on seller forums and someone said they were doing arbitrage, and all the sellers on there were scaring them, saying arbitrage is against Amazon terms of service. Yeah, like anytime anyone talks about Amazon arbitrage, they're like, yeah, it's just like the biggest Nancy's and Karens on the forums. They're just like, yeah, like arbitrage is basically dead. Like you're going to get your Amazon account banned and you're going to get shut down. You're going to have lifetime suspension because you weren't following terms of service. But like, remember, like there's millions and millions of products and Amazon wants to make money. So like make it a win-win for Amazon, for customers, and for brands. Don't step on brands' toes. If you see, and you can kind of look at a listing and be like, is the brand selling this item? Does the brand care about this product? And if they do, like maybe that's not the right product to sell, or just know that you're taking a calculated risk that it's going to be profitable enough that you can take an IP complaint and then move on. But with that being said, I got to run. Hopefully, it seems like the boomers chill there 24/7. With that being said, I do have to head out. I'm going to answer these questions real quick first, very quickly, because I do have something at 6 my time. But the boomers are there 24/7. Moving into wholesale, I don't do wholesale, so I don't really have, like great advice for that. So I've been talking to Jay and Josiah, and they've been taking less eBay to Amazon receipts. They've been taking less online arbitrage receipts. I saw a post by Fast Track FBA, who does regular online arbitrage. They weren't taking his. So it seems like basically I wrote a reminder for myself 2 weeks in advance. Maybe we'll check on it and see if it's changed. Just seems like a landscape type thing is different now. But with that being said, hope you guys have a great rest of your day and take care.